Hey guys, Michael the Comic Nerd here. Just want to give a quick video update. I am back from Comic-Con, and I'll be posting a big old vlog video all about that, and probably next week, when I finally get time to catch up on everything. But it'll be a harrowing tale of adventure, excitement, and something that led to personal injury. All details on that particular video. In the meantime, I'm here to talk about The Dark Knight Rises, which just came out yesterday, technically. And before I continue, I think I should address the elephant in the room, which is the Colorado shooting. Now, I'm not going to go into that. I'm not going to talk about it, and I have a very good reason why. Because, in all honesty, I think you're all people who are watching my channel, people in general, are smart enough to know how tragic that was, how awful that was, and how much it shouldn't have happened, how unfair it was to people who went, to everyone in general, really. And I don't think I need to state how tragic it was. I don't think I need to state how horrible it was. I think you all already know, and anything I would really say would just be an insult to their memory. All I will say is that my heart goes out to the victims of that terrible shooting, and I wish them the very best in this terrible situation. Now, with that being said, let's talk about the actual movie. The actual movie was awesome, to put it lightly. It was a very nice closure to the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy, which has been quite an adventurous tale, to say the least. And of course, I guess you kind of have to talk about what you thought of the other movies. I remember when Batman Begins came out, first time I saw it in theaters, when I was a kid, which is hard to believe nowadays. As I remember, first movie I saw immediately took my breath away, fell in love with it, loved the shit out of it. It quickly became one of my favorite movies of all time. And then, of course, the sequel came out, and that got even higher. Although that somehow made Batman Begins an underrated movie, which is surprising when you think about it. But that's not what we're talking about. So, of course, we all know the success of Dark Knight. Dark Knight Rises had a lot to live up to. So let's get the immediate question I'm sure most of you have, for the 5 people who haven't seen the movie yet. Is The Dark Knight Rises better than The Dark Knight? And I'm gonna say no, but that is not to say this is not an excellent movie. There are probably more flaws in The Dark Knight Rises than there are in the other Batman movies, but that being said, it's still an amazing film and you should go watch it. So what problems I think in comparison, the original Dark Knight feels a little more focused, and the elements of the movie balance out a little bit better. Because in The Dark Knight Rises, mostly in the first act, this won't happen too much in the second act, is it did kind of throw a lot at you very quickly. And while I wouldn't say it's horribly rushed, it did seem to all transpire very quickly. Boom, 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 here we go. Like, Bruce, and of course, there will be spoilers. This is one of my vlog videos. There are gonna be spoilers. If you don't want to hear any, leave now. So, yeah, so basically Bruce Wayne, it's 8 years after the second movie, as I'm sure most of you know, and Bruce Wayne has basically been a reclusive guy for pretty much that whole time. And so he basically starts out, he's got the scraggly beard, he's using a cane, he's still practicing bows and arrows. I guess you need a hobby. And he's spurred back into action when Catwoman appears and steals the pearls that his mother wore on the night she died. And that's kind of what kind of spurs back. There's some elements of The Dark Knight Returns in here, which I actually like. And then he's further spurred back into Batman when he realizes that Bane, who gets an awesome entrance, by the way, when Bane kind of starts to slowly but surely invade Gotham, and when he learns that he's there, that inspires him to redon the cape and cowl with, granted, not at full strength. He's still very weak because apparently he's still recovering from injuries from the last movie, I think. And So yeah, obviously he tries to take out Bane, who's clearly faster and physically superior than Batman, which I really liked. More on that later. And that goes back to the second question, I'm sure. Does this question a lot of people have, I think, again, for the 5 of you who have not seen this movie, is how much from Batman Nightfall does this movie have? Basically, does Bane break Batman's back? And I can proudly say, yes, he does. We finally get that moment from the books, the classic Batman moment. Bane breaks Batman's back. And I loved Bane in this movie, by the way. I would say the Joker is probably better, but Bane still scared the crap out of me. I think Tom Hardy did a great job with this character. Because he doesn't really... He almost acts like it's all like just one big game. Like, I think he only gets angry. He never really gets angry. He never really gets emotional. Like, he almost seems detached, like he's playing a video game or something like that. That's a horrible comparison, but you know what I mean. Like, he seems unattached. He doesn't care pretty much about the ramifications of what he's doing. He's just kind of doing it because he firmly believes that's the right thing to do, and that justifies whatever actions he must take to do so. Basically, he's a guy clearly off his rocker, and I really liked Tom Hardy's approach to the character. I thought it was really cool and very intimidating, and the scene where Batman faces the Bane for the first time was a fantastic scene, because it is the first and only time in any Batman movie where you pretty much know that Batman doesn't stand a chance. Now, when you think about it, this has never happened in a Batman movie before. Didn't happen in the original Michael Keaton version, didn't happen in Batman Returns. God help us, Batman Forever, and of course, the dreadful Batman and Robin. Batman Begins kind of had it, but you always kind of feeling Ra's al Ghul and Batman were more kind of equals in combat rather than his superior. And of course, the Joker wasn't necessarily a fighter to begin with. He just kind of got lucky in the movie. But Bane, on the other hand, big, huge guy, built like a fucking tank. Clearly superior to Batman physically in this movie, and it shows very quickly. Because, like, Batman's throwing everything he's got at him, he's punching, he's doing all these things, and he doesn't even look phased. Like, he just looks like it's a minor inconvenience. And then, of course, then he starts beating the crap out of him, and then he starts shit-talking. Like he tries to use darkness, like Batman tries to turn the lights off, and he's like, you think darkness will stop me? He's like, I have lived in hell, I have seen the true darkness. I don't know how it goes. It's awesome, though. And then, of course, he turns around, finds Batman, blah, and then then you get the iconic moment where he lifts him over his head and just, bam, right down on his knee, breaks his back, and then he goes on to the prison. And then he sends him back to what they call the Hole, I think it was, which is basically a prison where your only hope of getting out is basically a giant hole that you have to somehow miraculously climb up to. And only one other person had done it previously. Which is, of course, and this is a huge spoiler, by the way, Talia al Ghul is in this movie. I'm not going to say who she is, but you'll probably be able to figure out pretty quickly. Now, I actually guessed this plot point fairly early on, mostly by complete accident. Because there's a part, like, I think she kind of has a romance with Bruce Wayne, although I kind of thought that was kind of the more undeveloped parts of the movie. And there's a part where, I guess, Bane uses Bruce Wayne's fingerprints to basically put him to bankruptcy with the stock market. So Talia, he doesn't know he's Talia, with a different alias, I forgot the name, it starts like an M, shows up to Batman's place, and of course they get it on, and then you see this little scar, and that's like a little scar that pops up very briefly, and then it's gone. And that's kind of when I was like, wait, that's kind of when like the pieces started to click for me, and I was like, wait a minute, is that Talia? And turns out, yeah, it was. So I was like, yes, I'm smart. So I was pretty happy I managed to figure that out. Like I said, I felt there were a few moments in the beginning that felt very rushed. Of course, the action scenes are still phenomenal. It's Christopher Nolan. He's doing what he does best. It's great. I loved it. And, what else? And, yeah, basically, a lot of the second act... Okay, yeah. Now I know what I'm going to say. But one thing I really like of this movie, and, I think I'm pretty much mentioned this already, kind of, is this is pretty much one of the few superhero movies I've seen where for a large portion of the movie, the villain basically wins. I mean, really, aside from he doesn't necessarily complete his whole master plan, but he pretty much accomplishes 90% of his goals by the time the movie ends. He breaks Batman's back, he sends him to hell, basically, to torture him, mentally and physically. He basically turns Gotham into anarchy, and he takes over the town for months. There's like rebellious guerrilla tactic groups and people doing this. I'm tired, sorry, I'm not making much sense, but basically, Bane takes over all of Gotham with a nuclear device and turns the whole place into a huge jungle gym, essentially. The villain wins for over 4 months in the movie time, before Batman even comes back. It's like, can't really, and that's a pretty bold move, and I don't think I've seen any superhero movie actually do that up to this point. If you could think of one, type down in the comments, but as far as I know, I can't think of any where the villain has actually won and stayed that way for as long as his character does. And I really liked how Batman, the theme of rising from the great rising after you fall is a very frequently visited theme in this movie. Hell, it's in the title. So you get to see Batman kind of have to recover from his back injury, get himself back into peak physical shape, driven by the anger and rage of having, because Bane forces him to watch what's happening to Gotham while he's stuck in the prison. So he basically has to rediscover himself as Batman, so he can rise back up and finish off the villain. And all that is done very, very well, and is usually the best part of the film. And it does a very good exploration of who Bruce Wayne is, who Batman is, and what exactly, just basically who the character is. This is probably the most well-developed Batman of any of the movies so far. Most three-dimensional, anyway. Now the big thing. A lot of people want Catwoman. Let's just talk about Catwoman. I liked her. There were some times when I thought she may be a little bit unnecessary, because she doesn't necessarily do too much. I mean, yeah, of course she has her part to play, and she has some very fun chemistry with Batman, and I actually really liked watching Batman work with somebody in this movie in a way that works, rather than Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. And I'll get to the Robin in a minute. I really liked Batman and Catwoman's dynamic. I thought the chemistry between the two actors were really, really good. I loved how they worked off each other. I liked the characters. I'm not sure she entirely justified her existence, but she justified just enough to make me like her. So, I think they got Holly in there too. I don't quite know if that was supposed to be Holly, but it kind of seemed like it. Either way. And what else? There was something else I was going to mention. The Bat. It's what they call the Bat plane in this anyway. It's awesome. There's a lot of scenes pretty much dedicated to the scene. You get to see it fly around. You get to see him like dodging missiles and shooting up tanks and cars and everything. It's awesome. And this basically destroy. You get to see it fly around this pretty much destroyed Gotham. And sorry, I'm changing a bandage right now. It's a lot of fun to watch. There is so much in this movie that is just fun to watch. It really is. What else was I gonna say? There's something else. Fuck, I'm drawing a blank. Yes. Gordon Levitt as the cop person, whose name I can't remember off the top of my head. That's another character I'm not sure was entirely justified, but I did like his inclusion, even though he did kind of have a off and on Brooklyn accent thing going on. Is that weird? Is it close in? But, again, he's also, like, the only smart enough person to figure out that Bruce Wayne is Batman. And he makes that very clear very early on in the film. And, of course, there's been a lot of online speculation that he was going to become the new Batman. And they're kind of right. But yeah, I like all these characters. It's Christopher Nolan. I like the characters. The story's gonna be good, even if it does have its flaws. It's still really, really good. I still love the shit out of it. And now let's talk about the ending. Obvious huge spoilers here. A lot of people have been theorizing for months that Batman was gonna die, and just the Gordon Levitt cop was gonna become the new Batman. This is kind of true. It is and it isn't. Basically, at the end of the movie, of course, Bane has a giant nuclear device that he plans to blow up all of Gotham with, and Batman last minute takes the bat, hooks it up to the bomb, and then flies off into the bay with it, saving everyone's lives. Why the inevitable tsunami wave didn't destroy the city anyway is beyond me, but I'm not going to poke holes in the plot too much. And so it implies that Batman dies. Bruce Wayne, on the other hand, still survives. And goes off to, I think it was like Florence or something like that. He basically gets his happily ever after. While Gordon Levitt, on the other hand, kind of pretty much discovers the Batcave, and the Batcave, which looks really cool, by the way, and basically discovers all Batman's gears. And he also get a nice shameless name drop that he is basically supposed to be Robin. And you know what? I think this is probably the best possible ending you could have given this series. I really do. It wraps everything up nicely, gives everyone a happy ending, and it kind of basically leaves things open for the future. I thought it was a perfect ending to a very good trilogy, and I really enjoyed myself. Now, if you have not seen this movie yet, I've pretty much ruined the whole thing for you, but you should still go see it anyway, so stop watching this, go buy a ticket, enjoy yourself, you're welcome. This is Michael Comic Nerd, sign off.